Welcome to the Monday Night Punter. I'm Flash Gordon-Watson and I'm joined tonight by the top stats man, Chrissy Graham. Chrissy Graham, you well?
Good, looking forward to Christmas, mate.
Yeah, was it a good weekend?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Lots of partying and yeah, some good bets.
Okay, also we have the everyone's favourite, the Bet Butler on the other side of the studio. Well, before we get right into the mix, we've got games coming up midweek. We've got Leeds versus Chelsea, quarter-final of the Capital One Cup. We're going to have an early look at some of the Premiership games. But to kick off with, Majeski Stadium tonight, Reading, bottom of the table, against Arsenal, who are desperate for a win.
It's a huge game, isn't it? When you looked at the fixtures at the start of the season, you wouldn't have seen how big this game was going to be. It's, in some ways, Arsenal are happy they've got Reading because obviously they're bottom of the table. But at the other side, it's a terrible situation. If they don't win this game, you know, the fur will fly. It really will. I think they've just got enough. Two struggling sides, but the key is that Reading are struggling at the moment. They've stopped scoring goals. And I think Arsenal can sneak this at the prices.
And we don't think there's going to be another like 7-5 mad game like we saw in the Capital One Cup earlier on in the year?
I don't think so. I think both sides are really lacking in confidence. Both sides aren't scoring many goals at the moment. And yeah, I think go low in the goals for me, definitely. No chance of a 7-5, unfortunately.
OK, then we'll have a little chat with the Bet Butler. We're looking at Arsenal to win, but only just Butler.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of money around today for Arsenal, and the price is under a little bit of pressure. I mean, they were around about 8 to 11 before the match, before, you know, a few hours before going into the morning. That price is coming to 4 to 6, around about 8 to 13 now, and that's the price you can get, 8 to 13. I think that's going to go even shorter come kick-off time. People are just putting their money down on Arsenal. Now, just one thing you've got to remember, everyone goes on about the 7-5. The match was 4-4, mate, after 90 minutes. So if you backed Arsenal in that game, you lost. It was a draw. It was all the 7-5. The goals were in extra time. The draw's a 3 to 1 shot. Reading always score goals at home. I don't agree with Chrissy Graham. You cannot go under in any Reading game. They concede goals and they score goals. They score goals for fun and they concede goals for equally more fun. Reading here have got a terrible record against Arsenal. Arsenal won the last 10, but Reading haven't won a league game in 10, and Arsenal haven't won in the last 6. So it's all about the two unformed teams here. Actually, all the money is for Arsenal. But really, 8 to 13, that's the well gone man back in Arsenal, 8 to 13, and they didn't win 7-5. If you backed Arsenal last time out, you would have done your money because it was 4-4 after 90 minutes. 8 to 13 is under pressure. You punters are pieing into the Gunners tonight.
Cheers, Butler. So, Chrissy G, Arsenal are 8 to 13. Is that value?
I don't think it's value, but I wouldn't say it's a terrible price. I think it's probably a fair reflection of where the sides stand respectively. Butler's right. I mean, Arsenal have played Reading 10 times, they've won 10 times, but a stat that shocked me was Arsenal haven't had an away win in 6. You have to go back to October the 6th, that excellent win against West Ham was the last time they won away from home. That was 72 days ago. It was a long time ago, so that's definitely a concern. So there's pros and cons when it comes to Arsenal, but I think they'll get the job done tonight.
And we're looking at unders and overs. Everyone's obviously looked back, and as Butler rightly says, it was 4-4 after 90 minutes, 7-5 after 120. But do you not think the value would be in the unders tonight?
I absolutely, 100%. Your natural inclination is to back the overs because of that game in October and because it's Arsenal and because it's Reading. But if you scratch the surface a little bit, Reading have had 3 blanks in their last 4 games. They haven't scored in 3 of the last 4. Whereas Arsenal have gone under 2.5 in their last 4 games. So the stats would say that the sands have shifted since that October game. Both these sides aren't scoring many goals at the moment. And when you get a price, I think it's about 11 to 8, 6 to 4, you've got to be with the unders for me.
Butler, we fancy we might be listening to 1-0 to the Arsenal.
I know you said that earlier in the week as well, Flash. I mean, I just think that differently. I mean, Reading play against these games who don't defend very well, and they attack. When they played Chelsea, it was 4-2. When they played Man United, it was 4-3 at half-time. When they played Arsenal, it was 4-4 in the Capital One game. They just don't know how to defend. And when you back a team that don't know how to defend, you've got to be a very brave man to take the under 2.5 goals at 13 to 10. There is no value whatsoever in the over 2.5 at 4 to 7. But with the nature of the game, I think you'll see an entertaining match tonight, and I think Theo Walcott will make a huge part in this game if he plays. And I think over 2.5 goals has to be not the value bet, but a sensible bet. If someone put a gun to my head and asked me which one I'd bet, I'd have to go over 2.5 goals. But under 2.5 goals, probably the value, but maybe I wouldn't be having a bet on this market. I think there's better markets to play out there tonight. But if I had to have a choice, I'd have to go over. But I can see where you're coming from. The value is all for under.
Yeah, value there at 13 to 10 to be under because I fancy Arsenal or Reading. If Arsenal get in front, I fancy they'll get nervous and just make sure that they win the game, because 3 points only takes them 2 points behind Chelsea and Spurs, and they've not got off to a good start at all.
Exactly. I mean, but you know, others talk about Arsene Wenger going. I think that's nonsense. I mean, you know, you're right. They're still well and truly in the Champions League race. I still think they'll finish 4th this season, definitely. And you know, I think people need to just calm down a little bit here. I think they'll still finish 4th, and perhaps in the summer it's time to replace him. But keep him for the moment.
If we are going to see 1 or 2 goals, we maybe look towards Arsenal. I like the wide men of Arsenal because I'm not great fancy of the fullbacks at Reading. So, I mean, Arteta, penalty taker, fancy one of the Arsenal wide boys could be brought down?
Yeah, that's a good shout. Again, I'm looking for a big price here, so I've gone with a guy that I tipped up a few weeks ago. He scored the 2nd goal of the game, not the 1st goal of the game, but I was nearly there, and that's Adam Lafondra. You know, I'm just looking at market individually here as a first goal scorer market, and I think Reading got an excellent first half record, which I'll come to in a minute, but in Lafondra, I think 4 goals this season, 10 to 1, double figure price. He's the favourite for Reading. He's 10 to 1 to score first here. Reading start the games quite well. They're a good first half side, so if I'm looking at this market specifically, that's where I'm going.
Okay, Butler, we've got Lafondra for Chrissy G, Arteta for the Flashman.
I think you've got to look at the team news and wait to see the team news comes out and then have your bet on that game. I think Chris is absolutely right. Reading winning the lead against Manchester United, winning the lead against Chelsea, and they also win the lead against Arsenal in that famous Capital One game. They always start off well, and the value is with these guys here. Pobremniak probably start on the bench, and for me, I never really fancied him as a player, even when he was at Fulham. And for 60 grand a week, I don't think he's any value whatsoever for Reading at all. Lafondra, 10 to 1. I could see where Chris is coming from there. Noel Hunt, a 12 to 1 shot. I think there's other players as well. Kebe could feature in the game. You've got Lichterwood, who can always score a goal from a long-range effort. I think there's big prices for Reading, and the value has to be on the Reading players for that reason alone that Chris says there. They always get out the traps very quickly. If you're going to go for the Arsenal, Giroud, 5 to 1, hasn't really set it alight. His last 2 games hasn't really featured much for Arsenal. He started to look a bit comfortable, but it's gone off the ball recently. He hasn't been on the first choice for Arsenal versus Wenger's side. Podolski, 11 to 2, and Arteta at 12 to 1. And I'll give you a name flash. Some of you might have heard on this show before. For Marlon at a big price, might not win in at 33 to 1. We're bound to get it right one weekend, and I'm going to go for my old friend Vermaelen at 33s.
Go on the Butler. I think you could be banging there, to be fair. I've only gone for Arteta because I fancy Arsenal will get a penalty at some stage. And I'm looking at this, and both of you have both said that Reading come out the traps.
Yes.
If we're doing half-time 4 times, are we looking maybe for a little bit of Reading half-time, Arsenal full-time?
Yes, absolutely.
You like that?
I do. I love that. There's key trends here for both sides. Reading, good in the first half. Just 1 win this season, but they've actually won 4, been ahead in 4 of their games at half-time, so they start their games well. Second half is Arsenal's terrain, big time. Arsenal conceded just 6 goals in the second half of this season. That's the best record in the league. Reading have conceded 20 in the second half. That's the worst record in the league. So you put that all together, and then, yeah, of course, you've got to look at Reading draw, and you've got to look at Reading Arsenal. I looked at the prices. Nigel will take us through the odds. They're not quite as big as I would have hoped for, but if you're having a bet in this market, you've just got to get involved at those chunky prices.
Butler, Chrissy Graham loves chunky prices. What's draw Arsenal?
Yeah, you love chunky crisps, Flashman. Anyway, let me say something. Arsenal here is a great... Obviously, everyone backs his Arsenal, and Manchester United when fashionable teams play against a weaker side. There's no value in it. The bookies love it when you back Arsenal to be leading at half-time, Arsenal full-time, or Manchester United to be leading half-time, Man United full-time. And this 6 to 4 represents no value whatsoever. In that famous Capital One game, Reading led the lead at half-time, then it was a draw, and that scenario is a 16 to 1 shot again today, and I wouldn't rule you off that. I like this one, as Chris has said there. Reading half-time, Arsenal full-time at 25 to 1. We know how they always start scoring goals. We know how they get themselves pegged back towards the end. Maybe there's a fitness problem, or they just don't know how to defend the latter stage of the game. That represents some decent value here. I think whatever way you look at it, it may not be the value Arsenal to win the match, but your half-time, full-time has to end with Arsenal at the end of it. I couldn't be back in the 6 to 4, but I certainly be back in Reading half-time, Arsenal full-time. Draw half-time, Arsenal full-time is usually a quite popular bet with the more shrewder punters out there. But on this occasion, I don't think they could be actually trusting this game to be a draw at half-time. So for my couple of pounds tonight, it's Reading half-time, Arsenal full-time at a very juicy 25 to 1.
Cheers, Butler. So, Chrissy, we've gone through most of the odds. What about stats to point people in the right direction?
Well, the stats have kind of reflected what I've been saying. they're squashing some of the favourites here in terms of Arsenal at 4-6 because, like I say, no away win in 6 now. 72 days was the last time they won away from home, so the stats indicate that the price is probably a wee bit too short. The stats also squash the over 2.5 because, of course, Arsenal's last 4 games have went under 2.5. Reading have been struggling to score 3 in the last 4. They've failed to score, and of course that half-time full-time bet that I mentioned.
If Reading get beat tonight, they sit bottom of the table.
Yep.
They've got a new multi-billionaire owner, Russian. Is he under pressure, McDermott?
I think in this modern day horrible era we live in, he is, which is a shame. I think it should be illegal to sack any coach who brings a team into the Premier League, sack him during the season. I think that's outrageous because, you know, he's achieved a great feat getting him into the Premier League, and, you know, I think they all deserve a season for that. But you're right, he is under pressure, and I think his sack race odds will shorten again tonight if they take a heavy...
And yet Arsenal on the other side of the coin, if they win tonight, they only go 2 points behind Tottenham and 2 points behind Chelsea, and they're back on track.
Arsenal just need to win 2 or 3 games. Just win 2 or 3 games in a row. Just silence the negative noises coming at the Emirates at the moment, and the press, the fans. That's what they just need to just get their heads down, win 2 or 3 in a row. It might come in the Christmas period. It might come in the Christmas period, 2 or 3 wins in a row, and it just calm the situation down a little bit. They'll still finish 4th for me.
Or 3rd. Okay, well that's our first part done. We've done Reading versus Arsenal. When we come back, it's a big one for Leeds versus Chelsea, Capital One Cup, and we'll have an early sneak preview of a few of the Premiership games this Saturday. We'll see you in 2. Welcome back to the Monday Night Punter. I'm Flash Gordon Watson. I'm joined today by top stats man in the business, Chrissy Graham, and on the other side of the fence is the Bet Butler. Now, we're going to have a little look at Leeds versus Chelsea, Ellen Road, quarter-final of the Cup, and Chelsea just back from Japan. So, value in Leeds?
Well, I think so, definitely. This is a horrible fixture for Chelsea, absolutely horrible fixture for Chelsea. They'll be jet lagged, they'll be deflated after failing to win the World Club Championships, and they'll come up against Leeds, one of their bitter rivals, and, you know, managed by a man who will take immense pleasure in knocking down Rafa Benitez and Chelsea. It's a horrible fixture for Chelsea, and, you know, I think there are many reasons to back Leeds in this particular match.
Well, yeah, but it's not a good one for the Bradford boys. The Bradford fans that have gone in, they just want Leeds out, because the worst thing that can happen to them is getting to the semi-final, then playing their closest rivals in Leeds winning and going to Wembley and really just raining all over their parade. So every Bradford City fan becomes a Chelsea fan this week.
Really? I'm surprised at that, because they have a much better chance of beating Leeds than they've beaten Chelsea, I think, in
yeah,
the
but it's on the downside. If they do get beat by Leeds, Leeds go to...
Don't you think
Wembley.
that's quite a negative attitude for a team that have just beaten Arsenal?
Yeah, but they're in Division 4.
Shouldn't it be more positive?
Or realistic.
Yeah, I think they should be more positive. Look what they did on Tuesday night.
Yeah, but I mean the draw's obviously going to be made after the Leeds Chelsea game. So Butler, Leeds Chelsea must be value all the way with Leeds.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, they've been very heavily bunted in the last 4 to 48 hours since Chelsea's disappointing defeat in the World Club Championships, Corinthians, and the prices will probably bear no reflection now that they are come kick-off time. I expect a full, massive move towards Leeds. They were 9-2 earlier today. They're now into 7-2, and this is an Asian gamble being backed where people are backing Leeds on the Asian handicap plus a goal, and so as Mark's going to move to half and 1 goal. But there's money around for Leeds. Big, big, big money. Chelsea, as you say, going to be deflated. They're going to be tired. They're going to be jet lagged, and they go to the cauldron, what is Ellen Road. 7-2 Leeds. Their current form at home is formidable. They're the informed side in the Championship. At home, they are virtually unbeatable at the moment. I think they've won the last 5, including at the weekend, a fantastic victory against Ipswich. The thing is at the weekend as well, is that everyone expected them to do well, but there was a slight doubt, because when teams play on the week before a very big game like this, they never really turn it on, but they did. They've got players back, and 7-2 is under severe pressure tonight. If you fancy Leeds, you've got to take this price now. This is coming only one way. It's going down. Chelsea is 17-20. That price is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger come kick-off time. I don't think you'll see the whole host of players that played in the World Club Championship. And the problem is the squad is so weak and so not in any depth whatsoever that the two teams going on the pitch, there'll probably be not much in between the two personnel. The draw is 11-4 shot. I certainly wouldn't rule out. I think we could have another long game like we did in Bradford. But this cup has been the cup of upsets this season, and I tell you what, Leeds at 7-2 represent the value. Certainly, Chelsea are lay at 17-20, and if you can get on the Asian handicap where you can get Leeds plus a half a goal or plus 1 goal, depending on what price you want to take, that's the way forward. This is going to be a very tough game, and Chelsea no value whatsoever at 17-20.
Cheers, Butler. Chrissy G, you look at them prices, and I think there's a lot of people that will pile into Chelsea because a lot of the boys won't have played at the weekend, and they'll be looking to maybe force their way into the Premiership side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just look at the prices there. I like the draw there at
Yeah.
11-4. I think that's a shout. Leeds might get just a bit too short in the next 48 hours, so I'd be wary of taking. You know, I certainly couldn't back them at 5-2 if it gets that short. So I think 11-4 the draw is probably the shout for me on reflection.
And also the way that Leeds play, you can see them scoring. You can see both sides scoring. So then there might be a way of trading during the game.
Absolutely. Leeds are buoyant at the moment, as Nigel says. 4 wins in 5, up to the top half of the Championship. You know, and again, the Warnock factor for me is a big factor. He would love to bring Chelsea down. He's just that kind of guy who loves taking on the giants of the game, and you know, I'd love to be in the dressing room to see him, the team talk he's got to give his players before they go out there. A lot of fire and brimstone.
Well, win, lose or draw midweek for Chelsea. They get back to Premier League action at the weekend. They host Aston Villa, fresh off of a massive Anfield beating of Liverpool. So Chelsea versus Villa at the weekend, and Chelsea need to win.
They do, and I think Nigel will take us through the odds. Are far too short for me here. Aston Villa, you're right. I think that's the best result of their season, beating Liverpool. I don't know, no one saw that coming. Let's be honest. We all tipped up Liverpool on the show on Saturday. No one saw that coming. But it shows you progress has been made here with Paul Lambert. And the thing for me is the defence. Remember back in October they lost 5-0 to Man City. Since then they've really tightened things up. They conceded just 3 goals in the last 6 games. So it's the defence for me. It's the key. They're not scoring many goals. Of course they scored 3 at the weekend, but you know, forget that for a minute. They're not scoring that many goals, but they're not conceding any, which is the difference at the moment, and that's why for me, you know, I'd be looking at perhaps a draw here.
Butler, are we going to get any value with Aston Villa?
Well, you certainly are. I think Chelsea are far too short for this game. I mean, obviously, I think the midweek game has a big bearing on what goes on here. If Chelsea get beat by Leeds, then their price is going to get bigger and bigger. If they win quite convincingly, I don't think it's going to change much from where it is. But 1-3 Chelsea at the moment. Now, let's be fair. Who in their right mind at this present time can back Chelsea under Rafa Benitez at 1-3? The home crowd are against him. He's going to face a backlash, especially if they go out to Leeds, especially coming into the cauldron after the disappointment of the World Club Championship. 3-1 on Chelsea is far too short. 9-1 Aston Villa, maybe worth a small bet. The draw at 4-1 definitely is the value. Get on the draw at 4-1 for a betting perspective. But the best way to play this game is to back Aston Villa on the Asian handicap plus 1.5 goal. So as long as Chelsea don't win by more than 2 goals, which I can't see them beating anybody by more than 2 goals. Aston Villa, as Chris said, very defensively strong now. They've got the goal threat in Benteke. They've also got the Wyman coming from midfield scoring goals at will at the moment. They are got goals in them. They're a counter-attacking side. They went to Chelsea 2 seasons ago and won. They got a draw last year. This is not a place that they fear going. They've got a good record, and Chelsea at 1-3 is one of the worst value bets of the season as far as I'm concerned. Look at what happens in the week. Look at what happens in the Chelsea and the Leeds game. Look at what happened at the weekend, and then think to yourself, am I backing Chelsea at 1-3 against a team that went to Liverpool at similar odds and won 3-1? Definitely get on the Asian handicap and look at the bet. Look at the result in the Capital One Cup, and then place your bet, because that will have a big effect on this market. But Chelsea 3-1 on with 40-odd thousand people turning against the manager, not for me.
I think you're right, Butler. I think that Aston Villa at 9-1, they are the value. And just to throw a little bit into it, they've scored 4 last week away at Norwich, 3 away at Liverpool. They got 4 away at Man City in the Cup as well. So they know how to do it on the big stage.
They do. They seem to score a lot more in the Capital One Cup. I think they scored 12 in the Premier League before the game on Saturday, 14 in the Capital One Cup, which is quite perverse when you think they've played a hell of a lot more games in the Premier League. Just another thing for me, another negative for Chelsea. They have 2 0-0s in the last 4 games in the league, so that's something to consider as well. Just 1 win in 8, so far too short. The draw for me, maybe 0-0 at a big price.
OK, well, Chris Graham likes 0-0. Let's go Liverpool at home to Fulham here, and this must be a toss of a coin, Butler.
Well, you would think so at the weekend, you know. Liverpool going away, going at home to Aston Villa and getting beat 3-1. Fulham travelling to local rivals QPR and losing 2-1. It isn't that case with the bookies. Liverpool get backed every single week and they're odds on again here to do so. Fulham's away record is the one that I worry about. At home, we know how strong they are. It's away from home. And I think they showed signs against QPR. They weren't at the races. They only come alive in the last 5 minutes. Liverpool are 8-13, but no backers. I don't think anybody will be racing down to the betting shop with any straight mind to back Liverpool at 8-13. But the Asian syndicates love them. And the reason why they love them is they have more shots than any other team. If you look at the stats against Aston Villa, they had about 30-odd shots on target in the game. They didn't convert, only converted one, but they keep pegging away. They hit the bar more times than any of your team. And that is why the Asian boys just keep backing them and backing them and backing them. But you need to score goals to win football games. Fulham are 5-1 to do so, 3-1 the draw. I got it completely wrong with Liverpool last week. I can't be backing Fulham at 5-1. I think there's problems at this club. I think Brian Ruiz is a massive miss from Berbatov gets all the headlines, but Ruiz pulls the strings just behind the front two there. And I think in midfield they're lacking some real creativity at the moment. They're missing Dembele, they're missing Dempsey, and I think it's going to be a tough second half for Fulham. If it was at home, I'll be Fulham all over. But I think Liverpool 8-13, not for me. Perhaps the draw at 3-1 could represent some value yet again.
I think you're right. I think 3-1 the draw is probably the safest way to go on this one.
I love opposing Liverpool. I always look to oppose Liverpool. I actually think they'll win this weekend. I do. I think that might have been a blip, that result at the weekend. And Fulham for me is the alarming thing. I think just 1 win in 9 now, which is concerning, and they're away from home. I think Liverpool will get involved. I'll win this game, but again, it's not an attractive price. Like it never is.
OK, Butler, well, we're going to have a little look at Swansea, Manchester United, please.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to be backing Manchester United to win this game. I don't like usually backing odds on aways in the Premier League, but I think Swansea are a team again to oppose in the second half of the season. Their home form was exceptional, and for that reason, they will have their supporters. One thing you've got to do is you back Swansea at the prices available. You will get a trade in running at some times. You took the 9-2, they could go 1-0 up and could trade around about 11-8. Man United are 4-7, the draw's 11-4. The value's with Swansea, the money will be for Man United, but yet again, for me, the draw 11-4.
Yeah, for me, it's Man United to go there and just completely do the business, to be fair.
I agree. Man United, they're just in that mode at the moment, aren't they? They're just running up to Christmas. They're just taking off like a jet. What is it, 6 clear at the moment, 10 wins at the last 11 games. Yeah, they're just hitting that stereotypical Man United patch at the moment, just cruising.
And a lot of things that will be going on as the season goes on is that Man City will play more games on Saturdays and Manchester United will play more games on Sundays, so they know what they've got to do.
Yeah, I think that's a key factor, definitely. Definitely a plus point for Manchester United. I still think there's a lot of mileage in this title race. As we saw last year when they were 8 clear, got into Easter and they still lost. There's still a long way to go in this, but I think, unlike last season, I think they'll go to Swansea and win.
Is there any other tips for the weekend, 5 days ahead, that you fancy?
Nothing really.
Southampton host Sunderland.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you know, you'd be really starting to fear for Martin O'Neill's side, don't you? I think Southampton will be thriving with that match.
Yeah, and they should have played Chelsea at the weekend, so they've had a week off as well. Yeah. Let the injuries calm down, gives themselves, and they'll be fresh.
Absolutely.
OK, well, we're going to have a quick break now, but when we come back, we're going to go to the Alexandra Palace and we're going to have a look at the World's Darts Championship. See you in 2. Welcome back to the Monday Punter. Now, it wouldn't be Christmas without the World Darts at Ali Pali. Chrissy Graham is our stats man. And normally Phil Taylor, around even money, odds on. This year he's 2-1. Adrian Lewis going for 3 in a row. And yet it's wide open. It's
wide open, and you're right, this is just so part of the festive season now, isn't it? It's just as traditional as Turkey, the PDC darts. It's absolutely wonderful. And a fascinating year. Phil Taylor's not won it for a few years now, you know. He keeps slipping up in the quarter-finals and the 4th round, and I think he's got a lot to prove. Well, you know, he's nothing to prove.
Is he finished? Really. I mean, people will be asking him. He's just won a tournament a couple of weeks ago.
I'd be reluctant to write him off, really. You know.
Would you be a layer?
Not really at that price. Huh? I mean, this is the biggest price he's ever been, I think.
Yeah.
Since 1990, when he won at Frimley Green. He's class, and he's like Roger Federer. You can never write this guy off. I mean, I thought Federer would never win a Grand Slam this year, but he did. So Taylor has the capacity definitely to win this again.
And you've got some other names that people at home maybe are not too aware of, but definitely bring value to the table.
Yeah, I mean, Michael van Gerwen's had a great year. He's challenging for favouritism.
And he's a Dutch lad, is he?
A Dutch lad. And he was the next big thing 5 years ago, but he never really trained on for that. Disappointed, but he seems to have found his groove in 2012, and he's interested. Adrian Lewis as well, of course. Consistently underrated for me by the bookmaking fraternity. A double-figure price again this year. This man just comes alive at the Ali Pali. He turns up and he gets the job done two years in a row.
Well, my man is the Wizard of Oz, Simon Whitlock. I think that he does turn up and he's so cool and calm. But punters have got to remember that over the longer durations, like the format is so much, it's not a knockout. You don't really get freaks. They have to play well to win.
You're right, the class tends to out. I mean, Whitlock got to the final, didn't he, a couple of years ago. There has been a couple of, I guess, big outsiders get to the final. Kirk Shepherd, I recall, back in, I think it was 2006. But generally, you'll find that the creme de la creme get to the new year, which is in the latter stage of the competition. I think we'll see that again.
Okay then, Nigel the Bet Butler. Tell me what odds mine is Simon Whitlock.
Well, Simon Whitlock will be double-figure price, but he's very, very popular each way selection. I think in these markets, people look for each way on the opposite half to the power, and people look at big price to get someone to the final. I disagree with you. I think the Phil, the Power Taylor, man, he's won 15 World Championships. I think it's 15 or 14 World Championships. And if you backed him every single season, you'll be making money. It's simple as that. People say he's gone, but you can get 9-4 your money. There's your man there, Flash. Thought we'd look at 12-1. Taylor at 9-4. If he's in the final, he wins. There's no doubt about it. Michael van Gerwen, he has absolutely no bottle whatsoever. He played Raymond van Barneveld in a Grand Slam of darts. He played against his guy, his hero, and he was gone at the game very early doors. If he plays Taylor in the final or the latter stages, he would be like a horse with a time-formed squiggle. Would not trust him with £1 note of your money. Adrian Lewis, 10-1. He's won it twice, but never, ever, ever met Taylor in a final. Taylor's already gone at the quarter-final stages or round 3 or round 4. Sometimes that's why he's never won. He never won it. Anderson at 12-1. He's the perennial bottle job. He's got the big always scores big high scores, but when he gets to the final, he just goes missing. Not only in this championship, he's done it in the BDO event twice as well. You could not back him. Whitlock at 12-1, and with doubts about all these people, and you can get the 15 times world champion 9-4 fresh on the back of winning his last tournament. You've just got to lump on this man. He will be odds on at some stage of this competition. You mark my words. And if he's in the final against any of them, he will batter them. No doubt about it. Phil the Power Taylor is not gone, and he'll be winning again. Don't you worry about that. Wade 22-1. He's another player completely gone at the game. His current form is useless. But all these guys, they're not in form. Van Barneveld 9-1, perhaps for me, maybe in each way. But Taylor, get to the Swartz final, no doubt about it, he wins.
Certainly looks weird looking at that caption and seeing him Phil the Power Taylor not odds on. 9-4 looks humongous.
I think he was about 8-11 last year, compared to about 4-9, 2-5 the year before. So his price has been getting bigger and bigger every year because he keeps failing to win at the Alexandra Palace. I think it's 3 years since he's won it. He's suffered some shock defeats.
And I think we have to tell the punters at home here that it's not because he's out of form. It's because there's so many other players now chasing him.
Yeah, I think it's really, really competitive. I mean, seeing James Wade at 22-1, I appreciate it's not a great year like Nigel alluded to, but this is a guy with a really decent record at the Alexandra Palace. Twice a semi-finalist. He's won the UK Open a couple of times, won the World Match Play as well. A big game player, James Wade, and to see him double the price of Simon Whitlock and I think that's, and Raymond van Barneveld, I think that's too big.
So where would your shekels be going if I said to you, you can have one now?
I'd probably an each way punt on James Wade.
Right, 22-1.
Yeah, I just think that's too big. I'm not sure why he's double the price. Gary Anderson, I completely agree with Nigel. He has that Scottish knack of bottling it once the going gets tough.
Okay, we've got a couple of games going on tonight. We've got White and Webster. We've got Wade and Hudson. Let's talk about White and Webster first of all.
Fascinating
Toss of a coin.
It's a fascinating game, and I was alarmed at the price, really. Mark Webster seems to be second favourite here. This is the guy who knocked out Phil Taylor, I think it was last year in this competition. He won the BDO in 2008, UK Open semi-finalist last year as well. This guy's class, but he's had an average year, but his opponent, Ian White, I guess has been the rising star of the darts world this year. He's an absolutely terrific year. He got to 5 finals in the Players' Championship that they go throughout the year. 2 semi-finals this year as well. On top of that, 2 9 darters as well.
So you'd expect him to be a heavy favourite then, White?
I suppose you would. But it's toss of a coin. I don't know. The Webster's is a big game player. He's beaten Taylor. He's won the BDO. I just think, you know, in this stage, Ian White's very, very inexperienced in such a big tournament like this. It's easy winning in the floor events and stuff like that. But you know, when you're in the stage, the cameras are there and that raucous crowd are there. That's a different game. So for me, I'd be going with the experience of Webster here.
Okay, you go with Webster in the first one, and then we go for James Wade versus Hudson. James Wade must be massively odds on.
He's long odds on it, and quite rightly too. I mean, I always try and come bring a case for the outsider, but it's difficult. Peter Hudson, I like him because he's got a Apollo 440 track as his walk-on music. They talk about that. But anyway, he's not really got a chance here. But he's reached the last 16 3 times this season in these players' events. But that's nothing compared to...
Do you think he's one to take on then at 1 to 5?
No, I don't, because compared to what James Wade's done this year and in his career, it's a massive gulf here, and I think the odds are right.
OK, Butler, we want the prices on Webster and Wade.
Well, I totally agree with Chris on this match here. I mean, White is the up-and-coming kid. He's the form horse, but he's never played on this Alexander Palace stage. That is a huge, huge factor. I remember a darts player a few years ago, Dennis Ovens. He won every single floor event everywhere. He went in the World Championships. He was always a dangerous float. He never got past the first round. Totally different when you're playing in front of 37 people in Bridlington Working Man's Club, and then when you stay on the Alexander Palace and 8,000 people singing and chanting all the way through the game. Webster is a world champion. He plays the 19s, Webster. He doesn't usually throw the double 20s. He always plays the 19s. Look for under 180s in this game because Webster's a big 19 player. Webster is the proven horse. He got into the Premier League a few years ago. Real good player, real form. Has gone off the ball this year, but his experience here is paramount. He's beaten Phil Taylor on this stage, and even money could be one of the greatest bets of the tournament so far. I think it's about experience against inexperience, and on that stage, you want the first. You want the experience. Inexperience counts for nothing at the World Championship. Wade, experience absolutely in abundance. He's never won this championship. He's won every single other main floor television event. He's won at Blackpool, which has the biggest raucous crowd. Wade is 1 to 5. He will win. You can't really be backing him at 1 to 5. There's better ways to back him. We'll come on to that in a minute. Hudson at 9 to 2. First time here at the World Championship. It's the 20th year of the PDC World Championship, and Webster could offer us one of the best bets in those 20 years at even money.
Cheers, Butler. That's evens for Mark Webster. Now I'm looking at maybe a correct scoreline. It's best of 5 sets. That's first to 3. I'm thinking Webster maybe 3-1, 3-2.
I'd go all in here. I really
3-0.
would. I'd go 3-0 here. Again, just I'm pleased that Nigel agrees with me. And the more I think about it, the more I think it's a cracking bet. This is a guy, like Nigel says, he got to the Premier League as well. He was top 8 in the world. He's ranked number 11 in the world at the moment. No shame in that. Number 11 in the world against this guy who has had a great year in these minor events. But this is a huge step up. So he might become overawed. I think there's a suspicion that might happen. He may get to the stage and think, whoa, this is real now. And he might find it hard. So for me, 3-0 at what I'd imagine would be quite a decent price.
Butler, Webster to win 3-0. What price, please, mate?
I think he'll win. I just like the even money. I don't think I'll be rushing to back him 3-0 at 13 to 2. It's quite a juicy little price, but I do think White will take a leg off him, or a set off him. White is here. He's the favourite, which surprises me, but the prices are exactly the same on the correct score betting, as despite Webster being the underdog in the match betting. So usually you expect Webster to be a little bit bigger than all White's prices. Not the case. They're 13 to 2, both to win 3-0. A 3-1 is 4 to 1 either side, and a 3-2 is 9 to 2. I think Webster may have the experience in very tight legs. For that reason, his experience on playing this stage may come in. And I think this will be a close game. I think Webster will win, but I'm going for the 3-2 here at 9 to 2. I think when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of hitting the doubles and just taking that vital last couple of legs to win the game, I think that's where your 10-year experience of playing on the top stage and when you've won World Championships at the Lakeside comes into account. And I think Webster at 9 to 2 for a 3-2 win. I think 3-0 at 13 to 2 may be a decent bet. I wouldn't be backing White at all in any of these markets, despite them being exactly the same price. But for me, I just think Webster to win the game at even money offers me a great bet. And look at this, like I say, look at the special markets on the 180s, because Webster very rarely plays the treble 20s. He's a big ball player, plays a lot down on the 19s, and every time he plays in any one of his games, he may win, but very, very, very low score in 180s. So look on that market, but I'm just going to go for a very tight Webster victory, and that experience will hold him in good stead. So 9 to 2 for me. Chrissy Gowan's gone for the 13 to 2. Flash, you go for 3-1?
Yeah, I'll just cheer you boys on, to be honest. I'll be happy if you give get off to a start with an even money winner.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, 3-1, 3-2. I don't expect it to be 3-0 because obviously they have to keep their own darts to win at a set.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I guess I'm just banking on his big time inexperience coming into play here. But fascinating game.
There's no like bigger punting event in darts than this one. But how big is it?
This in terms of
overall, yeah.
I think it's huge. I mean, in my previous job, I worked at Sport and Bet, and darts was top 5 most popular sports. And it's a great in-play sport, Flash. That's the thing. It's a great in-play sport. So it generates a lot of its turnover through in-play, and it was even becoming bigger in the European markets as well. Got a Spanish guy playing tonight as well, and obviously the Dutch have got great dominance in this competition. But yeah, very popular sport.
OK, we're going to have a quick break. Before we do, I can tell you Oxlade, Chamberlain and Walcott both play for Arsenal tonight. No Giroud, he's gone with Podolski. So 2 boys who didn't play against Bradford last week do come in, may favour your Arsenal. We'll see you in 2. Welcome to the Monday Night Punter. I'm Flash Gordon-Watson and I'm with the stats man of all stats men, Chrissy Graham. And now I'm going to look for a little bit of inspiration here. Christmas is obviously the darts. It's a massive sporting for football and the King George. But then Strictly Come Dancing, Christmas #1.
Yeah.
And will it be a white Christmas?
That's
so
great,
let's start.
This is great.
It's crazy.
Oh, I love it.
It's crazy. Strictly Come Dancing, winner.
Right.
Give me some names.
Okay, I'll be.
Who's left in
I'll
there?
be honest with our viewers because I'm all about transparency. But I've not watched a second of this.
Oh,
this
okay, that's
competition. Usually I'm out dancing myself to like.
You've gone up in my estimation straight away.
I must say I like it. I think it's a great. My mum loved it, and I think it's a great, lovely program. It's like the good program to X Factor's horribleness, you know. But I've saw the odds, and Lewis Smith's the favourite. I know
okay,
that
gymnast,
yeah,
GB.
absolutely. I saw him at Sports Personality of the Year last night. He looked very, very cool.
Right.
I loved the glasses he was wearing. He was looking absolutely great. But I know Nigel's fancied him for, 3 or 4. Well,
is that just betting or is it just like a little fancy? Don't knock it.
No, not at all. Not at all. Especially with those glasses on. Absolutely. But yeah, I haven't really watched much of Strictly Come Dancing this year. Terrific show, absolutely. But yeah, I hope Lewis Smith wins because I like his glasses.
Okay, Butler, throw some light on this, will you? Strictly Come Dancing, winner.
Oh,
it's Brucey in it.
No, see? Anyway, let me tell you something about this one. I'll tell you about the show. I've watched every single episode from it. Louis Smith was the person I fancied from the very start. I've backed him at quite big prices, and now I'm beginning to get a little bit nervous. I'll tell you why. Because there's 2 of them coming up on the rails and really putting pressure on him. The form horse, the Walsh, I can't remember her first name, but the girl from Kimberly Walsh, the girl from Girls Aloud, absolutely exceptional last. We've got 4 10s, the second time in the series where she's got 4 10s. Without a shadow of a doubt, she's the most improved dancer, and she's getting better and better and better each week. And that is why this 5 to 6, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm thinking about trading out here. Danny Harmer, she's the girl from Tracy Beaker. She's got the cute votes. She's got the little kids vote. Won't win it. Denise Van Alten, a very, very good dancer. Not very popular, but not very popular with the public because her dancer. He's a bit of a nasty boy. He's the new Brendan Cole. Not many people like him. He's a 12 to 1 shot. Smith is the favourite for me. He's going to get the vote from the women. He's going to get the vote from the housewives. He's going to get vote for the mums, the nans and all that. But the best dancer and the foremost is Kimberly Walsh. And for that reason, I've backed this guy at 5 to 4 and I'm getting out. I'm getting out 5 to 6 and I'm going to have a few quid on Kimberly Walsh as well because I fancied her for a lot longer than I fancied him with them glasses. Anyway, Denise Van Alten 12 to 1. She was the favourite but not popular. She's been in the bottom 2 the last 2 weeks and that means trouble when you're down to the last 4. If you're in the bottom 2, the public don't fancy her, but I do. But Lewis Smith, 5 to 6 favourite, but under some severe pressure from Girls Aloud, Kimberly Walsh.
Cheers, Butler. Now we're looking at that. Is that a 2-horse race then for you? I remember Girls Aloud, massive fan base.
Huge. And, we were talking about the Christmas #1 a minute. They took Christmas #1 in 2002 with Sound of the Underground. Yeah, probably the biggest girl group in the 21st century. I think the natural successors to the Spice Girls. So a huge fan base and Denise Van Outen as well. I mean,
I thought she was in the darts. I thought that was your tip.
Right. Well, I think she's great as well on many levels. And 12 to 1. I don't know a person who doesn't like Denise Van Outen. She's got that sort of love.
But she's got that handicap of obviously being with a dancer that not many people like. But how big is this TV betting becoming?
Yeah, I wouldn't say huge.
Is it like little fivers and tenors?
Yeah, it's no that many huge stakes. It's novelty betting. It is what it says in the tin, really. Recreational betting, nothing too serious. If you wanted to place a £10,000 bet on this, you wouldn't get on. Let's be honest. So yeah, I think it's growing, but it's still not in the top 10 most popular things to bet on.
Okay, well let's have a little look at Christmas number 1.
Right.
Mistletoe and wine.
1988.
What chances? Was it 1988?
1988, yeah.
Takes me back a bit.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with Christmas number 1 ever since I've been about 5 years old. I could recite it every year since like 1970 who took it. And I think the thing for me is how it's changed over the years, how it's evolved over the years. In the 70s and 80s, it was just about having Christmas, Christmas hits like Slade and Band-Aid. And
well, they say that you only really need one. You get a Christmas one. A lot of them, they make no records no more, and they just get the royalties every year.
Absolutely sorted, you're right. In the 90s, it was all about being the biggest band. We saw E17 win it, and the Spice Girls famously took 3 in a row. And then the X Factor took over, and the noughties, dominated for 6-7 years. But now the theme is campaigns. Okay. It's issues and stuff like that. We saw the Military Wives win it last year. About the armed forces and stuff like that.
And this is on the back of X Factor as well. So we got the likes of James Arthur, obviously going to come in here. Is James Arthur? Is he in complete competition with one of these campaign tunes?
Well, the crucial thing is that they've released it a week early this year. Singles tend to 90% of their sales come in the opening week, so then there'll be a huge drop-off. But the thing is about this, that you just think it's a big price for this to be Christmas number 1. It's number 1 at the moment. And the thing that makes me think it's not an absolute no-hoper is the fact that it sold so many copies last week, Flash. Sold 500,000 copies, his track, Impossible. It's number 1 in the charts. The fastest-selling single of the year so far, the fastest selling X Factor song since Alexander Burke's Hallelujah back in 2008. It's racking up the sales. 500,000 is huge in 2012. So with that in mind, I think it's got a better chance than the odds suggest for me. Although obviously the Hillsborough Justice thing is the strong favourite, and that's going to get a lot of public sympathy, obviously. But I just think don't write James Arthur off completely. With 500,000 sales already in the bank.
Butler. Is there any value in James Arthur being Christmas number 1?
Well, I don't think so personally. No, I think it's all about the Justice for the Hillsborough campaign. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. I think it's the 3rd time they've released it. It's been number 1 every single time it's been released. I think, but it's no backable price. I mean, they're big odds on. Obviously, this year the X Factor money is going towards charity. And they've done that as a complete, a clash to try to get that to be number 1 ahead of Justice Collective. I think you find here, obviously, James Arthur, the week early factor. Very interesting to see how many records they sell, and it's the fastest selling single I think until this week. I think Justice Collective will sell an awful lot of copies and will give him a big run for his money. Now, on this list, you've got JLS at 40-1. Rihanna always gets my vote at 40-1. And the Pogues, I know you're a big fan of them. Flashy, I know I'm more of a Rihanna man. You're a bit of the Pogues man. At 40-1 as well. But this one here, the Games Makers Choir. Now, honestly, they've done a brilliant job in the Olympics. They were so great walking around in their lovely uniforms, telling us where to go to the XL, where to watch the table tennis, putting us to our seats. They've done brilliant with the armed forces now. It's December. Get rid of those uniforms, put them in the wash, and just go. You've done your job. That's it. Forget the memories. If the Games Makers Choir make Christmas number 1, right? I'm giving the game up, and I will do a forfeit. But I tell you what, I've had enough of the Games Makers. Putting them away. Justice Collective 2-9. James Arthur, perhaps a little bit of value at 7-2. But I think, just because they released it a week early, they know they're under huge pressure from this one here. Maybe a little bit too short for betting, but I think Justice Collective will be the Christmas number 1 this time next week.
Cheers, the Butler. That's a little bit of fun there. We're having the Christmas number 1. Now, what about a white Christmas? Scotland, they must have one every year.
Unfortunately, no. That would be great. I think the last one was 2009.
I don't really like it. Because I think of the old people slipping over in that.
You're a very caring man, Flash.
I am.
I'm far too selfish. I love it. 2009 was the last time in my hometown, Dumfries, we got a white Christmas. 1996 as well, if my memory serves me correctly. But looking at the weather, I mean, the weather. I walked to work in this. It's not even cold.
You want to buy a coat?
It's not cold outside at all.
Are you sure?
It's not cold at all.
That's for you, though, isn't it?
It's mild. It's horrible, mild December weather. So on that basis, with just a week to go before Christmas Day, absolutely no chance of being white Christmas, unfortunately. It's about 6 degrees colder in my hometown at the moment as it is in the capital, but it's still not cold enough to get excited, to get me excited about a white Christmas. It ain't happening.
Okay, Butler. The lemons and the coconuts, they're late in Southampton. Does that point towards a white Christmas?
Well, if you've had a fiver at the big prices with any bookmaker, you'll be singing, "We're dreaming of a white Christmas."
You look a bit like
Because
Bing.
we had a fiver at 8 to 1. But let me tell you something, you've been done your money. Don't worry about the singing. Leave the singing to the experts. You've done your readies. It's not going to be a white Christmas this year. I know it's unfortunate. Kids want to see that. It's not going to happen. It's going to rain like it does every year. Edinburgh, 2 to 1 to be the favourite. Bookies always go too short this because they don't usually offer the other side. If you could back the 2 to 1 on, no white Christmas, you'll be having lumps on. Belfast 3 to 1, London a 5 to 1. Realistically, should be at least double the price of that. This means they require one snowflake to fall on the capital at the Met Office. I think it's different landmarks for different cities is linked in the rules. So check the rules and look on that. I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, the bookies, this is the bookies benevolent fund. People come and back it every single year. They pay out probably once every 4 or 5 years, but it never happens. So be very careful and try to ask your bookies if you can get a flip price on the other side. So can you bet the 2 to 1 on? No snow in Edinburgh. Can you get the 3 to 1 on? No snow in Manchester. And can you bet the 5 to 1 on? No snow in London? If you can, I'll have a monkey treble, please, because it's not going to be snowing in Christmas.
Bar humbug for the Butler. There may well still be snow. Don't despair. Okay, so I think there's no snow. There's going to be no snow.
I'm sad to say it, but there ain't going to be any snow, which is desperately disappointing because it's my favourite time of the year by a mile. And you know, Christmas Day and the snow is just like, it's just the greatest thought in the world, but it ain't happening.
Okay, well, we'll have a little recap. Reading versus Arsenal coming up. It's a live game tonight. Arsene Wenger leaves out Gervinho, leaves out Ramsey, brings back Walcott and Oxlade-Chamberlain. No Giroud up top. Podolski. You like that?
Yeah, it's a bit harsh on Gervinho, I think, getting dropped.
Well, he's had a bad back, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm being playful there. No, I've gone against the trends here, Flash. I've gone for under 2.5. I've gone for... I can't really get with Arsenal at that price. So, and the half-time, full-time, the big shout. Reading half-time, Arsenal full-time, or even draw Arsenal. Because Reading great in the first half, Arsenal great in the second half. Use the stats to make cash. It's worked for me in the Polish football this year, and I hope it works for me again in English football.
Okay, and also we've got the quarter-final of the Capital Cup. We've got Leeds versus Chelsea. Chelsea hangover for you?
Yeah, definitely. I'd be wary of the Leeds price going too short. If it's 5 to 2, 11, even 11 to 4, it's just a bit too skinny for me. I like the draw at the moment. Like I said, Chelsea jet lagged, depressed, fed up. They've got a manager they don't like, fans who are, annoyed at the moment. And I think Leeds 4 wins in 5. Warnock as well, the Warnock factor that I talked about. He'll be really wanting to get right up Chelsea and Rafa Benitez, and for that reason, the draw.
Okay, and the darts at the Ali Pali, we see that obviously Phil saying 9 to 4. That's more than double his normal starting price.
It is, yeah, it is. But he's failed the last 3 years, and that just concerns me just a little bit. Just a quick mention, one of the games we haven't actually covered tonight. I like Peter Wright tonight. I think 7 to 2. I think he's a great price to beat Aaron Monk. Just a class apart from me, really. He reached the 3rd round last year. He gave Barneveld a great game in the UK Open. Aaron Monk, very young, only 22. The son of Colin Monk, of course. Just a young lad. And I think Peter Wright's a very backable price tonight, around 7 to 10 to win that game.
Excellent. Gives me enough time to say thank you to the top stats man in the business, Chrissy Graham, top bet man over the road, Bet Butler. I've been Flash Gordon Watson. If you're on Arsenal tonight, get on. See you soon.